Hello, 안녕하세요. Uh, Thank you everybody for joining me. I host these sessions every Tuesday and Thursday as a way for us to show you what's happening currently in the market and what price action is doing and how we can play for the next day and also so that we are prepared. So let's hop right into it. Okay. As we always start, we looking. Let me bring up my pen. 1 second. Technical difficulties. I just got Windows 11. I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate everything. Let me do this. To ask the help of Google. Oh man, new technology. I cannot figure out how to move this to. Hold on 1 second. Let me stop sharing this. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm trying to figure out how to do stuff with Windows 11. Completely new operating system for me. The laptop. Okay. I think I got it. I got my pen working. All right. So dive right into the market heat map. You can see different from last week. Last Friday we had a whole the market dipped, but today you see energy was red, a little bit of utilities and some of the consumer staples, right? These were what were green last week and the week before that when everything was dipping, but we could see that it's For now, it's kind of the reverse, right? We're seeing communication services, IT, consumer discretionary, healthcare, financial, and industrial being green. So with all this amount of green, we could suspect that today was a green day for SPY, right? Looking at the chart, right? We're bouncing in between. We bounced right off this support, this 200 support. So we're still in this danger zone right here, right? Between the 50 and the 200. But I don't really like where we're at because we're right in the middle, right? This is where we are. And being right in the middle, we can, I'm not sure if we're going to continue going up or down. The allocations of war between Russia and the Ukraine, that's really moving the market. But overall, it's a really fragile market, right? And when we're in between this zone that I'm talking about, this 50, that 200, and price action is in between here, it's really indecisive. Like one little piece of news can move it, one way or the other. But what we're seeing right now is this kind of pattern. Right, so let me break this for everything. We're seeing this kind of pattern, right? This pendant shape. So I'm curious to see where we're gonna be, if we're gonna break below here or we're gonna break above here to the upside, right? Or to the downside. Now, that's just what's happening on the daily, right? So long term, it's still really indecisive. Market's still holding its structure of being indecisive. Knows really moving the market, but and even on the hourly, we see this, right? We see it sort of flat for the last month or so, right? Only back here, as far back as about the last week of January, right? We finished the down movement last week of January here. Let me zoom out to 90 days, right? So you can see here, right? January started, we were in a down trend on the hourly. And as soon as we hit this back, we were sideways, right? So you see this channel being formed, right? Right in here. I want to see it come back and test this low. I was thinking that maybe this right here is support for the short term resistance, right? As you can see, if we draw a line here, that this was support for the last 2 weeks, broke through on Friday, right? Support for the last 2 weeks. We broke through on Friday, right? Monday, and then today, right? So Monday we came lower, found some support here, and we came back to test this as resistance. So tomorrow, maybe we can go back down lower. And continuation of this movement here, right? This is just a breather period, and then maybe we can go down here. But that's just one thinking of what could happen. So be very careful, because right now we're right at resistance, right? Right at resistance, intraday resistance. Right? You see today's price action, we were just bunching up against this resistance. We couldn't break through it, right? This resistance at 445 through 446, this zone right here. But with this huge pop up in the pre-market, you would think that it will continue, but we, as soon as the market opened, we dropped, and then we did come back up, but we pretty much stay stagnant the other day. So be very careful tomorrow, because we might see it reject off this resistance right here. So that's the thought process behind that. So play how you might. That's one way that it could play out. Another way is if tomorrow we see some very good news, we could, from here, right? This could be a support, and it just blasts off from here. Break through this resistance, blasts off from here. But either way, use this right here as stop, right? Oh, let me get my eraser. Anyway, the two marks here will be stop, right? There's stop here, 448 could be a stop right here, and right here at 444, right? So if you're long, use 444 as stop. You shorting, use 448 stop. So if it goes below above here, you get stopped out, and if it goes below here, you get stopped out. But that's two plays, right? Okay. So that's intraday. A lot of news surrounding Russia and the Ukraine, maybe war, maybe not. You know, a lot of rumors, a lot of news around it. So market's very fragile right now, and the way we are set up to, it's gonna be pretty difficult. Both war, the initial reaction is always bearish, but long-term reaction is bullish. Is one thing to keep in mind too. Bearish initial, but bullish over time. Okay. Take a look at Apple. See, Apple is still holding above the 50. This is what I like to see, right? I like to see. But one thing we have to keep in mind is this right here. All right, so tomorrow, if we could break up above here, we might even go back and test the all-time highs for Apple, right? And this is a big thing because if Apple breaks above this pattern tomorrow, because Apple comprises of 7% of SPY, Apple is going to really take SPY with it, right? But if it fails, we come back down here and break through this level, right, to the downside, we could see the whole market coming down with it, right? Usually tech is leading because tech makes up the biggest percentage of SPY at the moment, right? SPY, S&P 500, they're almost the same. The only difference is one is the ETF and one is the index, right? So on the daily, that's what's Apple is really good. I like to see it. I want to see it continue. We'll see if it can break above a 147, right? Down to the hourly stagnant. See here, right? This is the move from before. Let's see. I should really save this because I use it. There we go. Right, really stagnant. You know, Apple didn't have too bad of a drop. If we're looking at the drop since January, we've already recovered half of that drop already, right? That full drop was here, and so we're about half already, right? So here we can continue going up a bit great, but and Apple will be a lead indicator too. You know, the Apple stock. Just look at that. So because you see, if Apple trends up, we will likely see the market just starting to trend up because Apple makes such a big percentage of it. So what I do like that is happening is price is staying above the 50 and the 200. But what I don't like is seeing this happening. The 50 and the 200 is just crossing above and below one another. Even though it's slowly inching forward, if it keeps crossing below and above one another like this, it just smells of it just is signaling that there really isn't a trend, right? There's no trend to the upside, no trend to the downside. All it's saying is that there is it's going into consolidation. Meaning, you know, people are really indecisive in the market. You know, I like to see it when we trend really good because then that's when we continue to make higher highs and keep pushing the boundary, right? So AMD today, AMD and Zion actually did they merge. So AMD and the ticker used to be XLNX, right? If you guys bought the stock, right? This one got delisted today, merged with AMD. So no longer any shares of here. If you did have shares of X, L, and X, it became AMD today. Now AMD was actually really green today, right? 6%, and it bounced right off this support in this danger zone. And I like to keep seeing this, right? Where it bounced, it keeps making a higher low, but I want to see it also start making a higher high, because right now we're still in the same boat as other stocks that we already look at. Is we're seeing this right here, these these lower highs and these higher lows. And when we see this kind of movement, right, is usually a pendant. We call this a pendant. And this pendant is really just building up to a boiling point, right? Boiling point here, and then usually it can break up or down, but it's very indecisive, right? And this is why I say when prices be in between this 50 and the 200, it's very dangerous, because you can't really pick a side for it to go, if it's going to go to the upside or to the downside, right? But that's just one thing. You can see it, forming. And the market at the moment is it's going to be very boring. We're going to see just little chops in between, right? It's not going to make new highs. It's not going to, be too exciting. It's just going to be down here in between this point until it finally breaks out or breaks down. If it breaks down, that's when you can for sure say, oh, let's get some puts. But at the moment, it's more of a day trader's paradise, because you can see huge swings every day, and neither goes up, a few dollars up, a few dollars down, right? So you're catching a few cents, a few dollars if you're lucky, but you're not going to catch anything that if you're hoping for a huge leg up to the upside or a huge leg down to the downside. It's really not going to happen at the moment. All right, so that's MD. See, even the hourly is really flat at the moment. Right, flat right here. Thought I saved it right here. Right, see how different it looks from the start of January. Right, one direction, literally just going straight, going down. But here it's sideways, right? Bull market to be in. At most maybe you get a day or two of the same direction, and then it reverses, and it's just back and forth. You're not really knowing what's happening, right? So it's really huddling around this price right here. So then the top of the range is about 133, bottom of the range 110. You might get price to peak a little bit above 133 and a little bit below 110, but it comes right back into that range. So far, that's what's been happening. Right? Tesla, and no big surprise here. Right? Hopefully, no big surprise to anyone. Right? Price is still staying in between the two zones here. And you can see Tesla, the last 2 weeks has been so tight. It's been in this range right here, right? In between the top range of 940 to about 850. Okay. And so you could definitely make some profits if you know that it's in the zone. This is almost $100 zone. So because it's such a tight zone, like this, at the moment it pays really well to play stocks outside of SPY, right? Something like Tesla. If you can see this little move right here, and you can always take a gamble or educated bet that when it reaches 940, then maybe it'll reverse, right? It doesn't mean it can't peak a little bit above 940. It can, but as it peaks above 940, it'll probably reverse to the downside here and maybe bounce off 580 again. You keep doing that. But for a stock like Tesla and all the ones that we review, right, they're really big mega techs. So it's more advantageous to instead of shorting them at the top, longing them at the bottom. Because if there is a true reversal happening, you don't want to be short on a megatech, because megatechs have the power to stay through any crash, and they can, they're basically just money whales, right? They continue to produce money. So why would you short one of those? But that's just my 2 cents. Yeah, you could do whatever you want. You can see here, hourly, right? But one thing I pointed out today in the Discord group and show the chart is that this 200, we haven't really broken above this 200 hourly, right? We peaked above it a few times here, but we haven't really truly broken above and stayed above, right? It's one thing to just break it, but to also break it and stay and continue to stay above the 200, that's a very strong sign, but we haven't seen that before. So I'm still, for the short term at least, it would still be likely to pick up some if you do some cover calls or to get some shorts, right here as it peaks, because maybe it'll go down to the downside again. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the lower highs that form right here, right? Because when they reach the lowest point, it actually didn't go that low. And also, when we reach our highest points, we're not reaching that high anymore, right? Here. So keep that in mind. But we are looking like we're just resting right at this resistance. Now, I don't like that. I'd rather if we have strong, very strong price action above it, because that shows us there is true buying. There is true buying. People are buying, they're holding, and they have a good sentiments in the market. They have confidence. But if we see just something like this where it slowly picks above, I don't consider that as any confidence at all. Right? That's Tesla. But let's look at Amazon. Amazon, right? Still holding in that range. And this range is if you follow me for any length of time, I've been tracking this zone for about the last 2 years. And it's right back into it, right? We're back in the zone. It's holding this zone at the bottom to support this zone, right? Respecting that support. That's a very good sign. It means we're gonna maybe we have a chance to go test this high again, right? At 3,500. And I do hope that we stay in this zone for another year, right? Or another year or another 6 months. Because it's consolidation, right? Looking at them, and if we look at the monthly chart, right? This is beautiful. This is a beautiful monthly chart. Price has just been continuing up. This consolidation is good for it because we had this big run, right? This big run that was about a year. And I mentioned that I like to see after a big run like this, a stock would hold a range, right? A consolidation range for about the same or even double the time that it ran. That's mean, if it's able to hold the range, that means there's a lot of confidence in that stock. People are not really letting go of it whenever there's a big crash, right? We might see a huge range, right? This is a huge range because Amazon is a very expensive stock, but the fact that it's just not plummeting and taking all its value that it built over time away, is definitely a sign of confidence, right? Sign of buying confidence. And this was, if you miss it, maybe this was a great opportunity. And this is still a great opportunity. You see this range, you can still play it out, right? See this range, and it's been there. We're close to the bottom of it. We're actually closer to the middle of this range, but it'll be a good play. Right, just play that zone. That's Amazon, really expensive stock, so be very careful when you play it. And then let's look at SoFi, right? SoFi to end it. So SoFi is doing this thing that's really, to me, is interesting. Even though it's been down, everything's been down. So for it to be up, when the stocks are down, that would be fishy. But since everything's been down, it's not any big surprise for me. SoFi had its earnings, have its earnings coming up. Looks like right here is the 28th. So another week, I believe. Yeah, another week. Another week for them to have their earnings. But okay, so but what's interesting, I find interesting, is it's hugging and holding this $12 level. It did peak up below it, like right here, but it's holding this $12 level. So there's some form of support, at $12. And I won't be surprised if from $12, we continue to hold this for maybe another few weeks, another few months, but this is where we blast off from, right? So similar to this sort of setup right here, right? This sort of setup right here. We see price holding some level here. It did dip down a little bit below, but this is where it blew up from, right? So another leg up from here. So I'm curious to see if this is how it plays out, right? To the upside here. Maybe we go back to this range. I would like to see that. That's SoFi. And if you've been following me, SoFi is a position that I consider gambling. Basically, you throw in money that you can afford to lose and just forget about it. Maybe monitor it whenever, but definitely consider that money gone. And if it blows up, it's a good thing, right? Think of it like at the beginning, the heydays of crypto, the very beginning of it, right? People didn't know what was going to happen, and the early investors in it, they put maybe a few thousands into crypto, and it blew up on them, right? And they became millionaires, right? I'm not saying that could happen here or would happen. I'm saying there is a very small possibility. Now, there was also a small possibility with crypto. So there's always a chance of it, and you just have to pick and choose what you want to play. Right? It doesn't matter if it's crypto, it doesn't matter if it's stocks or whatever. Right? Same thing with PLTR, right? Same movement we're seeing, right? It's holding down to that 12 and 13 level right here. Price is just to be just holding this zone right here. This sort of zone, right? This zone right here. And so I want to see it hold this for a while. I just stay in here, and then maybe I'll go up again. Right. So these were interesting stocks that people talked in the last 2 years. It's just down and being, and they could continue. Another something that was similar was NIO, right? And we see what happened to NIO when it did catch a run, right? Not considered here because even before people got into it here or in this zone, there was this all the way back here, right? Actually go back 5 years, right? Right, when it IPO, right, caught a little bit of steam, then it went down, 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 right? When people sort of forgot about it, right? People who got into it here, they caught another one run here, then they sort of forgot about it again, and then boom, this happens, right? So the same kind of movement that we're looking for, right? That we're hoping to play in SoFi and in IO and in Palantir, right? These are very, very low stocks. And they're gonna catch this because there's no big whale holding on to it, keeping their value from plummeting every time. It's usually just mostly traders against trader, right? Retail against retail. So you get this thing kind of happening. So you got to pay attention to what it's doing, and if it's leveling out or if it's continuing lower before you get it and start your gambling position. Doesn't mean that if you got in here, you're out of luck, but it might take a long time before it comes back here. So it's better to get it at its low when nobody's talking about it. But with that, we'll just end it here. Thanks everybody for joining me. And if you are wondering, you can check my YouTube for all the past ones and look over what we went through. Or and if you have any questions, feel free to just message me, Facebook, Discord. Come join us in there. We're in there every single day. We actually just gave the Discord server, a few boosts, so we do have 1080p streaming right now and better audio quality. So come join us in there. And if you have any questions, reach out to me or anybody in the Discord, because there's a lot more knowledgeable people than me out there. And everybody have a great day. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you will be alerted whenever I go live or whenever I post a video about trading. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.